Just 14 minutes and 6 games completed.
Wait, please. Love.
Playing here for the 5th year, rusedski. The best he's done before this was to reach the 3rd round in 1994. And the first Briton, incidentally, to get through to this semi-final stage.
13-15.
And that, of course, is while it's been the Stella. Before that, when it was played under a different title, Mark Cox was a semi-finalist.
Nothing too frenetic in the volley department. That could have been better, but this absolutely safe and solid.
Game rusedski. It leads by 4 games to 3. New balls.
So it's very good to see rusedski recapturing the form that he'd struck at the start of this year when he reached that final in Zagreb here against Ivanisevic, and then was a finalist in San Jose when he had to retire against Sampras after winning the first set and trailing in the second with the wrist injury that kept him out of the game from the 18th of March to the 12th of May. And he had a stuttering return, Bill. First round losses.
Played about 4 or 5 tournaments, only got to the second round of 1. He lost in the first round of the French, but with distinction, if you can lose with distinction, because he took Magnus Norman, who had a marvellous French Open. He took him to 9-7 in the final set. That must have been good practice, incidentally, that very long match on the clay of France. And I think it's borne fruit here, because he's playing good ground strokes, solid and very confident.
Time.
There's one other statistic, I hate them, but I think it's quite important, actually. The points that each of them have won against the first and second serves are absolutely identical. Against first serves in their matches, 26% each, won, and against the second serve, 45% each. Having said that, rusedski's played 4 matches, Ivanisevic 3. So rusedski has had a lot more practice on the grass than his opponent.
Well, I think that might have been out. Certainly rusedski felt so, but there was no call. I wonder if we can see it for ourselves. Watch this carefully where it bounces. Well, all too quick for us. Yes, well played.
Rusedski does well to chase this down, and Ivanisevic does well just to block it in a rather awkward position.
Game Ivanisevic, 4 games all.
So a very secure service game once again. He's dropped no points in his last 2 service games.
Law 15.
It's his first double fault today. And as you remember, he'd served over twice the number of his opponent in matches up to this point, 20 against 9.
Net, first.
Both men have the tendency to go for very, very solid, fast second serves.
Law 13.
Out.
15-13.
Just a noise, perhaps, from the courtside spectators.
30 all.
Good opportunity to see the swerve. Just look at this. Now, how do you collect that?
Need a bus. A little bit unlucky with the net cord.
30,
Did well, did Ivanisevic, to get that back, but unlucky there that the ball should pop up and give Ivanisevic the chance to just push it wide and force the defensive lob volley. So here's a break point.
Juice.
And the strangled cry, because that was the first break point that either man has had to face. These chances are so fleeting when 2 good servers play each other on fast courts. Not just grass, but the same thing happens indoors.
Advantage, rusedski.
Such a good first volley again.
Net, first. Game rusedski leads by 5 games to 4.
Well, now, Goran Ivanisevic, Bill Threlfall, is known to live dangerously on his serve. Well, both of them, of course, are, but none never more famously than when he was match point down to a friend of ours on the centre court, Chris Bailey.
Yes. That's a moment that'll live certainly in Chris Bailey's mind forever. But yes. Now, but at the same time here, he's had a chance really to take the set, because with his serve, you would certainly expect him to hold this next service game if he had broken. But he didn't. He had his break point, and you heard that great throaty gurgling that comes out of him when moments of stress affect him. And I wouldn't put it past him now to drop his serve, because when you've had the fleeting moment where you could take command of a set and you've lost it, well then that can affect you mentally, particularly if your mind rattles a bit as Goran's does. So this next game could be interesting. It might be a time for rusedski, particularly if he wins the first point, to pounce.
Nice bit of footwork there. He supports his Split club at home in Croatia. Born near the football club, in fact.
Law 15.
Well, that's the mental fragility I was referring to. Still thinking about that break point.
Law 30.
Yes, that's a very fine return of serve, forcing the error. So the door beginning to open for rusedski here.
Law 40.
And just as Bill Trofel had suggested, the dangerous game for Ivanisevic has proved very dangerous. 3 set points.
$15-40.
It wasn't the best return of serve he's ever made, but sensible because he made Ivanisevic play.
Yes, he's done it.
Game first set for rusedski. 6-4.
Well, no wonder the applause is prolonged, because after just 27 minutes, rusedski has taken the opening set. Delight there in the family camp. 6
Second
games to
set,
4,
rusedski to serve.
and just seizing his moment.
$15.
I think this is a magnificent shot, this, because it's almost a smash, almost a volley, wide of him.
$40.
Doesn't count, but it was going at 132 miles an hour.
$40-15.
Which, incidentally, is exactly the same speed as Tim Henman made in the Grand Slam Cup when he served his fastest. So he serves big, too.
Game rusedski. First game, second set.
So that's 6 days, giving rusedski a 1-love margin in the second set. And when Goran was thinking about this match yesterday, he was saying, you know, that he thought it was going to be very close because he remembered that last meeting in Zagreb, and I think the grass, he felt, would probably favour rusedski, so it's proved.
I think he was embarrassed indeed for Greg, really, to have him foot-faulted for the first time in a match, a long match, by a very home team supporter on the baseline who foot-faulted Greg. It was an awful moment. It was actually rather disgraceful. But Ivanisevic was extremely embarrassed that one of his countrymen should have foot-faulted Greg at that moment. It was awful.
15 love.
Under a different title, Mark Cox was a semi-finalist.
Four.
Playing here for the fifth. Just 14 minutes and 6 games completed.
Wait, please.
Fifth year, rusedski, the best he's done before this was to reach the 3rd round in 1994. And the first Briton, incidentally, to get through to this semi-final stage.
13-15.
And that, of course, is while it's been the Stella. Before that, when it was played